Sleep and medication. So it's not uncommon for us to hear that, a parent has been told that their child is autistic and will never sleep. And usually the recommendation is melatonin or another medication whose side effect is usually sleep, such as clonidine. And I think when we start working with a family, these are one of the things that we really evaluate is answering again that why. So why are we not sleeping, but also why are we on the medication? So it's difficult to know what the true sleep problem is when there's medication involved, because often it masks the true sleep problem. And understandably, that is why the medication's in place in the first place, is so that everyone can sleep. So we get that. But to really understand what's going on, sometimes that medication has to be faded off to address the sleep problem. Because if you address the sleep problem when a child is on medication, at some point you're going to have to fade that medication out unless it's serving a different purpose. And then you're going to run into a sleep problem. Particularly with melatonin, that's very commonly recommended. And there's some things to know about melatonin, and I can put a link in the chat for you guys. Melatonin is a synthetic hormone, so it's meant to replicate, or it's meant to replace your naturally producing melatonin in your body. And you actually don't produce as much as is usually recommended. So the doses that are typically recommended are higher than what your body would naturally produce. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're using melatonin is dosage, making sure that it's under 3 milligram, particularly for kids. The other thing to keep in mind is melatonin is specific for sleep onset. So it creates conditions under which you fall asleep. Melatonin is the starter pistol of sleep. So it doesn't do anything other than signal the rest of your system it is time to start sleep. So it doesn't keep you asleep. So if an issue is night waking, melatonin is not going to help. If anything, it could actually cause night waking when you start to take a hormone that your body's already producing. And you'd have to go for a sleep study and testing to know what your level of melatonin is. You can actually start to interfere with its natural production, and now you're causing a whole other problem. And melatonin is also not regulated. So ingredients can vary. And so it's really important to talk with the pharmacist if you're using melatonin to make sure that it's a higher end brand and that it's a brand that's known to be consistent with its ingredients. The challenge too, and you can kind of look up Dr. Matthew Walker, he was the first quote we talked about. And the other thing he talks about is that sedated sleep. When you're on medication, it's essentially sedated sleep. It's sedation. It's not sleep. You're not always going through all of your sleep cycles. You're usually not hitting your deep sleep as much and not spending as much time in REM sleep. So it kind of goes back to the caffeine and, I sleep when I drink coffee, but do you really sleep? Is it really quality sleep? So we do work with families with medication to answer why, and we work with other professionals who want to talk with the doctor. We want to talk with all medical professionals. It's not our job to take you off medication, but we want to make sure we're talking with the entire team about why it's being used and how we can tackle sleep and achieve healthy sleep, perhaps without it. To extend sleep. So are there any strategies you recommend to extend sleep? So somebody automatically waking up after 4 to 5 hours. That sort of ties in with the first time you may naturally wake. So within your sleep cycle, I don't know if we can go back to that slide, but within your natural sleep cycles, you do hit a point where you naturally wake. That could be the timing there where they're naturally waking. So if you kind of look at those gaps there, yeah. So depending on when a child falls asleep and when they wake up, take a look at that timing. It could be it's when they naturally wake up. They're just becoming fully alert and awake. And I might take a look at sleep dependencies there to see if there's an issue.